in terms of not only learning the songs, but was there anything else you did to land a gig that you auditioned for? It doesn't maybe have to be this gig in particular that you mentioned, but in general, is there anything else you always try to nail? Like not the songs, but some other part of the gig that you might be not thinking about straight away. Does that make
Uh,
sense?
you know, it's interesting because your first impression is really important. I can't stress that enough. And it's so funny because I think a lot of young guys are like, young musicians
Mm.
are, saying, oh, if I can play, that's all I need. If I'm a great player, I'm going to go in and blow them away. First of all, you're not going to go in and blow them away because there are a lot of great players out there you don't know anything about. So that's number one. That's not going to happen. That happened back a long time ago when there were a lot less musicians. But
Mm.
so many now, you can't rely on that being a thing. So you have to be a human being. You have to be approachable. You have to be nice. You have to be respectful. That's all really important stuff. It's
Right.
so important. I could talk about that for days. I should
Yeah, no, but
do a
for
presentation
sure,
on
yeah.
that because that's really important. It's so much of it. You figure you play 2 hours a night if you're doing a concert tour, and the rest of the hours you're either trying to get away from the rest of the band or you're trying to be friends with the rest of the band. And there's a lot of both. I mean, there has to be space because you're with these people all the time. But when you're together, it's got to be it's got to be a band. So there should be a dialogue just as there's a musical dialogue. So you want to get along with everybody, and then that's a thing in itself because there's so many different personalities of people, and you have to know who wants to get along and who just wants to be left alone. You know, it's a very interesting thing, and that also changes as you're on the road. That also
Mm.
changes the longer you're in a group situation. But you
Mm.
begin to learn people as you go, as you go on. The
Mm.
thing is, you just bring the A game all the time, and definitely when you're playing. I mean, it's no, you're not, you can't look bored. You've got it. You got to show up on time. You got it. One thing that's very important is to have your own sound and have a very established kind of sound that you use so that people know what to expect and they know that you have a competency that way to get a good sound on stage and to not
Mm.
blow everybody out of the front row
Mm.
when you're playing. I mean, the volume has a lot to do with that, but it's also just the pleasantness of the sound and just your professionalism that way, and knowing when you walk on stage where to be and where not to be, and how not to be in the way.
Mm.
And it's just those things that, I mean, to this day, I mean, we've been doing this stuff for decades and decades, and we still are very conscious of all of those things.
Yeah, yeah.
A lot of times with Mike Stern's band, I'm playing on stage left, and in front of me is Randy Brecker, and I don't want to blow Randy Brecker out. You know, I don't want to play too loud, so I always ask Randy, "Are you comfortable? Is everything okay with you? What can I do to make things better for you?"
Right.
And try to just have comfort level on the stage. And
Mm.
Dave Weckels here, or Dennis Chambers, or whoever it is. Steve Smith. I try to have a dialogue with these people. So all of that stuff
Nice.
is really
But
important.
so, yeah, yeah, awesome. But how? I mean, I think you've answered it already, but it sounds like you have to like being a hired gun, if I can, call you that. For some of your work, you've been a hired gun, I assume. How important is it to then just leave your ego at the door and just be like, okay, I wouldn't do this, but I have to be professional enough to let my ego sit in the back and just do, the professional thing of doing what the artist wants you to do, or the whoever's employing you?
Well,
How
that's right.
often? Yeah, I think you answered that
No, I
anyway.
think I
So,
think it's all examples of that because you
mm,
could come in and be a diva and throw things and turn up your amplifier because you can, you
yeah,
know,
yeah,
and get in everybody's way, and that's great, and maybe you feel like you're, you know, so God's gift to music for that gig, but you're probably not going to have gig number two. And
yeah.
I've seen that happen. I've
Mm,
seen that happen. I've seen guys disappear on tour. Not in any bands that I've ever played in, but I've seen it happen. I've
right.
seen people being replaced, and it's it happens just as quickly as the attitude.
Mm,
You really, yeah, of course. I mean, that's all part. I think that's the point, is that by being a band and being together on the road and being a cohesive unit, whether you're on or off the bandstand, is exactly that.
mm.
It really is leave your ego to a certain degree. It's you have to be. It's also important to be very aware of your worth as a
Right.
player. You have to know what you're bringing to the table in a musical situation. That's very important. And you
Can you
have
expand on
to,
that? Because that's very interesting.
yeah, you really do. And you need to have, know what your worth is when you're traveling around. It's like you don't want to get the back seat in the 19 passenger van every day.
Mm.
You can't, you're not going to get stuck back there with the luggage like riding on top of the bass drum.
Yeah.
That's not a good precedent.
Right.
It's not. It's so you have to know your worth on and off the bandstand.
Mm.
That's a good piece of advice. So that's a real tricky situation. That's one of those things that you learn. And the only way you learn things like that is getting out there and making some mistakes and feeling like an idiot.
Mm.
And it's guaranteed. I mean, it's guaranteed that you're going to get out there and feel like an idiot. I
Yeah.
felt like an idiot a lot of the time. First few years I was doing it, or
In
let's
which ways
few
do you mean?
months, because I learned pretty quickly
Right.
the things that you do and the things you don't do, and when to open your mouth and when to not.
Right.
And
Would you
and
mind
that's
sharing any of
musically
those?
speaking as
Yeah.
well.
Right. Right. Right.